racism is the all-purpose explanation for what ails Black America. There are a lot of people making a lot of money on that narrative, and they want to keep it out there.
The civil rights struggle is over and won in the United States, which doesn't mean that that all the problems have come to an end, but what it does mean is that they're not civil rights problems.
If you're a progressive, if you're a liberal, you want to keep race front and center in our national debates. Whether it's relevant to the discussion or not, you want to keep it front and center because you think it works for you politically.
The goal is to tell Black people that we're victims, that discrimination and racism remain major problems in America when in fact they don't. And they want Black people to vote for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party gets 95% of the Black vote, and the reason they get it is because Blacks are convinced that the #1 issue facing the country right now is social justice, racist white cops, discrimination, systemic racism, microaggression, whatever new word they come up with, and it's a bunch of nonsense. The #1 problem domestically facing this country is a breakdown of the family. And President Obama said it, I didn't.
The intellectuals have told them that the world is unjust, that other people are keeping them down, that the fact that they don't have what other people have is somebody else's fault.
Politics, like everything else, has some things it can do and some things it can't do. And from what I've seen of groups around the world economically, one of the things it seems not to be able to do is raise groups from poverty to affluence. People have discriminated against other people wherever they've had the power to do it, almost everywhere in the world and almost every period of history. Some groups are kept back by this, and some groups, it seems to make no difference whatever. The fact that people didn't hire Jews in the 19th century didn't stop Jews from hiring each other and setting up and dominating industries such as the garment industry or the beginning of the great Hollywood movie studios and other areas of the economy. It is the skills that are crucial and not the fact that other people are willing or unwilling to hire you.
What's your thought on Black Lives Matter?
What is it? What do you mean?
The idea is that there's this movement called Black Lives Matter, thinking that the rest of America didn't seem to understand that Black Lives Matter.
I am a young, black, rich If that don't let you know that America understands Black matter these days, I don't know what it is. Don't come at me with that dumb.
People who look at somebody like you and me and they say because your skin is a certain color, you have to think a certain way, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you, and they start calling you names. Those are the real racists.
I don't know. I mean, anybody can be a racist. I mean, if you're for budget cuts, you could be a racist. If you're for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget, you can be a racist. If you're for accountability, if you're for, a lot of organizations, civil rights organizations, make you a racist if you're for many, Proposition 13 in California. This was called a racist act.
My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
We have made some very significant strides. There's no doubt about the fact that we've come a long, long way since the days of slavery and since the days of rigid segregation. And one of the things that we can joyously point out is that legal segregation is dead today.
There was no debate in America about whether or not there was racial discrimination. Everybody knew there was. The question was what we were going to do about it. I think of 1964 and the Civil Rights Bill as the point at which America capitulated and apologized. We were wrong. Here's a huge piece of legislation affirming our commitment to not do this anymore. As an historical gesture, it was one of the great moral acknowledgments of any society ever. It was a really remarkable event. We need to face ourselves more frankly. You guys, as 75% of all black children born out of wedlock.
Where's the evidence of the lack of social justice? When a black suspect is killed by a cop, believe me, the media is on it. People are watching it.
If racism were the pervasive challenge facing the country, why are poor blacks failing in systems run by their own people?
In Baltimore, where Freddie Gray was killed, Freddie Gray died in a van. I shouldn't say was killed, died in a van.
Yeah.
You have a city that's 45% black. City council is 100% Democrat. The majority of city council is black. The top cop at the time was black. The number 2 cop was black. The majority of the command staff is black. The mayor is black. The AG is black. And yet here we are talking about racism.
There are no important forces in American life advocating for racism. You need to, and as blacks, we need to ask ourselves why we have become so dependent on this delusion that we live in a society that is intent on keeping us down. That's over with. It isn't that kind of, it's just over with.
There is a access of indoctrination. You have the media, you have academia, and you have Hollywood, all of which tell black people that they're victims. Most professors are to the left. The media certainly is all to the left, and Hollywood's to the left. And so you get up and you're indoctrinated all the time with things like social justice, inequality, the man's out to get you, we need a higher minimum wage. You name the left-wing policy, and you pick it up through osmosis.
Liberals have no interest in a post-racial society. They may claim that they long for one, but when you want racially gerrymandered voting districts, you don't want a post-racial society. When you want racial preferences in higher education, you don't want a post-racial society. When you name your group Black Lives Matter, you are not practicing post-racialism.
Making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is the problem we have. If you're born in the U.S., it really doesn't matter the condition of your birth. What matters is what you inherit from your nurturing, from your environment, whether or not you're going, I'm just from the standpoint of having been born with little. You can always get out of that.
But where are we in the United States of America in race relations and what you see from day to day in your life?
Skip, they wouldn't want to ask me that. They wouldn't want my answer to represent it because God knows I have been nothing but blessed. My whole path, these 33 years have been nothing but a blessing. I have never, never is a strong word, I've never dealt with racism, and I'm glad I didn't have to. And I don't know if it's because of my blessings, I don't know if it's, but it is my reality. So I would have to say, not only did I thought it was over, I still believe it's over, but obviously it isn't.
So you've never experienced any offensive behavior from any other color or?
No, sir.
Wow.
I am the antithesis of everything they stand for. A black guy who does not believe that he's a victim, a black guy who believes in hard work and personal responsibility, a black guy who doesn't believe in handouts, a black guy who doesn't believe in the welfare state, a black guy who doesn't believe in affirmative action. I can't just be dealt with facts and rebutted with facts. I've got to be maligned. I've got to be a token bootlicker, Uncle Tom.
I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
Well, if racism is so virulent, it ought to be obvious. When I was a kid, it was obvious. No one denied it. It was visible to everybody every day. And that was the beginning and the end of it. Today, where is it? Where are you being stopped? Well, I want to rise. I want to be a politician. I want to be the president. Okay.
I think a lot of white Americans thought that voting for a black president would get this country over a hump. And they reelected him because they weren't done congratulating themselves for electing the first black president. What?
Oh, wait, but you just said something that's profound. It's witty, but that's in other words,
to many white voters,
the election and then the re-election was about white people. It was about themselves.
Right, and what Obama symbolized. Obama was a symbol. You weren't voting for the man himself necessarily. And again, I hesitate to paint with too broad a brush here, but I think many white Americans saw him as a symbol of progress, and thought we could achieve some sort of post-racial America.
You can't legislate love. You can change laws, but you can't legislate people into loving you. That takes time, and it depends upon what's going on in their home. You can change the law, but if you go home and teach your son how to hate every day, doesn't matter what law has been changed. Until you teach your son how to love, then the law is not going to change the way your son feels.
A lot of white kids love rap.
Yes.
Explain that. What does that say to you? What's the message of it? What's the bigger picture of it?
I don't want to be bashed because I don't want to sound like I'm on the wrong if there is a side, but I thought that was clearly a message that there was no such thing as racism. That's what I thought.
Race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't or
Today?
cannot. Yeah.
No.
You don't?
No, I don't. Hey, you and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? Put your mind to what you want to do and go for that. It's kind of like religion to me. It's a good excuse for not getting there.
Yeah. I look at people, I don't see colors. I don't judge people by colors. I say that, well, gee, you're a man just like I am, and whatever you are after that. That's what my stepfather used to say. He says every man stands up to piss, and he's whatever he is after that.
Where were you born?
Me?
Yeah.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Baton Rouge General Hospital.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. I had a long haul from where I came from to here, but here we are.
Right.
So the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and here we sit at the dining table.
But it's hard to, when you say that to some people, because they say, oh, there you go with a pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing, and you're just being respectable. Not everybody can do that.
Well, everybody can.